Time, I think, to look back at some of my favourite images from 2025. This year, after all, has been an amazing year for me, getting out with the camera, doing some landscape photography, heading out to some stunning locations. One thing I've always wanted to do is to put together a photo book, purely for myself, a collection of my favourite images taken across the year. Well, finally, here it is. Let's dive straight in. The hardest thing when putting together this photo book was definitely the layout. I can be a bit OCD, and you can definitely see the symmetry across the layout as a whole. First up though, it's my images from the London photography project. As I mentioned in last week's video, some of my favourite images were taken up in the capital this year, so there's no way I was going to leave any of those out. They are looking great when you see them in print. One of my favourite images from London altogether was the plane coming into land at London City Airport. I've loved how that one turned out. Then next up, we come on to the section where it's my weekly travels around Kent and Sussex. First up is the Soul boat that I took at Orr Marshes. And then I made the trip into neighbouring Surrey. The first time I ventured over that way, some fabulous locations. Although there's definitely some memories. I remember coming away and losing my DJI action camera that day. I had to travel back an hour to go back and get it. I think, again, just looking through this photo book, the standout moments are springtime. Of course, when the bluebells, when the wild garlic comes into bloom in the woodlands, you get that lovely explosion of colour. Again though, the standout trip was later on in the year, and had the best of times with sunrise. I went out to blue water though, and standing on the edge of the water, had this beautiful amount of colour mixed with the mist. You really had to be there. It's one of those days where you had to be there to really appreciate it. It was a special, special moment. Then we come to two of my trips this year that were further afield. First off, I went down to Cornwall for a nice summer holiday in the August time. Love heading down to Cornwall. And of course I made the decision this year that I was going to take a break in Cornwall. I wasn't going to do any YouTube videos. I was just going to go down there, enjoy the break. Of course I took the camera. You can't not take the camera down to Cornwall. There's some lovely scenes well worth capturing. And I also had one shot at the back of my mind when I went down there, down at St Ives, looking off towards a lighthouse. A year ago, I went down there, I missed out on the shot. It's a shot that occupied my thoughts for 12 months. Made sure that if I was coming away with any images this year, that was going to be one of them. And I'm really proud of how that particular one turned out. Finally, we come to the highlight of my photography year, that car camping trip up in the Lake District. What an amazing trip that was. My car, it might have received damage whilst I was parked in Rydal water, but the images, the experiences, they will live with me for a very long time yet. And that trip up to Sprinkling Tarn, up into the mountains, that was an image that I long wanted to capture ever since I started planning the trip back in the February time. Yes, there are images that I didn't manage to capture because of various reasons. Just means I'm going to have to go back again next year, isn't it? This, I should add, is a photo book from Style Digital. They've not sponsored the video, it's just a special offer that I came across whilst browsing Instagram one evening. And what I should point out, what's great is, yes, it's great being out on location, taking the photo. Yes, it's great seeing that image back home on the computer. But when you get your image printed out and you see it in a photo book, when you see it on the wall, it just hits so differently. It really is great. And what I want to point out as well is when I was putting this photo book together, I just thought, just for something for me to look back on, I've just added against each image the camera settings used for each shot. And when I was putting the photo book together, when I was designing the layout, and I was typing in what those settings were, I noticed that every single shot was different. Doesn't matter whether it was the focal length, doesn't matter whether it was the lens that I used, the ISO, the aperture, the shutter speed. There are no two images that used the exact same settings. Right, the moment you've possibly been waiting for, my favourite image in 2025. And I'm going to pick my one favourite rather than a top three. I'm going to make my life a little bit harder because there were a few images that I've absolutely loved this year. From the shot I took of sprinkling tarn to an image I took at Elmley Ferry where I went there and I didn't even end up getting the main shot that I was after. It was just a moment that I saw after walking around for a few hours. Then you've got the sole little boat at Orr Marshes that I took early on in the year. All of those could easily have been my favourite image. But instead, my favourite image of the lot is one I took just a couple of weeks ago. When I was standing in Greenwich Park, I was filming a segment for the London photography project. It was a foggy day. Could barely see a thing. And then all of a sudden, the fog just started to lift and you could just see Canary Wharf just appearing through the fog. It was a beautiful moment. The conditions just aligned perfectly for me. And what makes this such an amazing photo isn't just the photo itself, but the fact that I went to Greenwich Park back in January. What made that trip so special was the fact that I stood there that morning and I said in that video that what I'd have loved was, had it been a foggy day, had the fog just been blowing across the scene in front of me, enveloping a lot of the scene and leaving me with the conditions that I got just a few weeks ago. The conditions that I spoke about wistfully, thinking they would never actually happen. So when they actually happened just a few short weeks ago, I was just in my element. That though is 2025, and that is my personal photo book. A collection of my favourite images, a collection of my favourite locations that I've been out to with the camera this year. I might even release a photo book later on next year and make it available for purchase. Let me know your thoughts on that one. For now though, I wish you a very Merry Christmas. There is one more video to come before we see you in the new year. So until then, I'll see you soon.